It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. This is footage from the Russian naval base in Novorossiysk in the Black Sea. You're about to see a massive explosion from an underwater detonation. Here it is. That is a Russian Kilo-class submarine, which I once helped track as a Navy recon pilot. This one was equipped with cruise missile launchers. It's now a crumpled wreck on the ocean floor thanks to a Ukrainian undersea drone. The security service of Ukraine said this about the attack. Ukraine's underwater drone sub Sea Baby attacked a Russian submarine. The explosion critically damaged the submarine and effectively disabled it. The submarine was carrying 4 Caliber cruise missile launchers, which Russia uses to strike at the territory of Ukraine. Couple things to note. 1, I love that the Ukrainian weapon system, designed and built in-country to attack Russia's fleet, is called Sea Baby. That is asymmetric warfare at a linguistic level. 2, Russia is losing this war. Look no further than the fact that it used to have one of the most powerful navies in the world, and now it barely has a navy at all. Russia might be the only nation in history to have lost its navy to a country without one. 3, Ukraine has had to invent entirely new ways of taking the fight to Russia. I was in Ukraine several months ago during Operation Spiderweb, Ukraine's masterful drone attack deep inside Russia against Putin's strategic air fleet. Ukraine's ability to innovate and adapt in the middle of an existential fight for its survival is astonishing, and America better learn from it or we'll lose our next war. Finally, Ukraine attacks military targets. This is a naval base, supposedly secure deep inside Russian territory, and it is a legitimate war objective. By contrast, every single day, Russia targets civilians and civilian infrastructure. Today, I want to share part 2 of my conversation with Lesia Orobets, a former Ukrainian member of parliament and now a leading advocate for Ukraine's defense. She dialed in from Kyiv, where the power had just been cut due to Russian strikes on their power grid. A couple weeks ago, Lesia and I met in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we were discussing the war. During a dinner event at a table full of dignitaries from around the world, there was a moment when every Ukrainian raised their phones at the same time. It was an alert sent to an app on their phones about yet another air raid in Ukraine. And they all glanced down to see where the missiles and drones were headed, no doubt thinking about their families. Then they put their phones away and rejoined the discussion. The stoic resolve of the Ukrainian people is almost impossible to describe. I've seen it firsthand, from artillery positions in Kherson to gun batteries in Odessa to boardrooms in Canada. It's why I know Ukraine will win. And Lesia Orobets embodies that stoicism. Here is part 2 of our conversation. If you could have a direct line into our State Department and White House, what would you tell them about how this war needs to end?
Russian regime must be put to end, as this is a huge security factor for everyone on planet Earth. The person or the group of people who think that they can control and negotiate with Russia are either lunatic or very badly informed. Putin is not negotiating. He went nuts. And he's our nightmare. You know, you and I both, we've seen dozens of great Hollywood movies about terrorists putting their hands on nuclear weapons. Right now, we are living in that horror movie. And only brave people around the world who understand their responsibility for the future generations can combine their efforts and resources to put this nightmare to the end. I've never seen American diplomacy in this hard situation, and we know that there's a way out, and I do believe that there are sound and wise people in every room in Washington who feel that they can do something as adults. I still hope that's a thing. And another, just on my personal story, I've already mentioned Chernobyl. Not only I survived the Chernobyl, but my first lesson why the state, not democratic state, is dangerous. You probably know that after Chernobyl, on the 1st of May, there was a parade of a communist party in the Kyiv center on Khreshchatyk. And kids from schools and kindergartens were on that parade, exposed to a death amount of radiation. People got sick and died after that, but nothing was in the free media, because there was no free media No one was telling the right things, how to protect themselves from radiation, because no one cared about human life. And me being 4 years old, my father was then a scientist, and he was very openly trying to explain to me what actually happened. And that was my first idea that this what the state is, that the state can bring so many fear and suffering to your life if the state is not democratic. So through my life, I observed and participated in 3 revolutions to try to make my country as democratic and as pro-human rights as possible. And I know why it's worth fighting for. Because if you lose that, then your kids would parade on the radiation of sun. This is something you cannot allow. And I know that there are people who are bored from war, but usually they do not live in Ukraine. Because in Ukraine, we know why we sit in cold, without light, without heat, without water, but we know that we cannot let it through. Because although Putin lectures us a lot in history, we know our history much better. When we give up, in less than a decade, we're killed in millions. In a famine, Holodomor, in 2 world wars, in everything. If we keep fighting, yes, we lose our best people in thousands, but at least we have hope that we can rebuild our country and that we can stop our enemies at our border. So this is the choice we have, and we are hoping that at least the wisest people on this planet, the kindest people on this planet, understand why we are standing and why we're not accepting the defeat, because we are trying to protect something which is much more valuable even than the human life. It's freedom of everything.
I would love for you to apply that hard-won wisdom, having experienced 2 revolutions, to what America is going through right now. And I'm not asking for sympathy for what we are enduring, because Ukraine is the exemplar of resistance, and we need to do everything we can to help Ukraine win its existential fight. But we do have threats to democracy here, and I think we can learn from you. What do you see happening to America right now?
I traveled to America for a decade, almost every year, so I was able to observe my friends and other people living, and it was not always like in a Hollywood movie. Like through this decade, people could middle class people could afford less than they could in, like, say, 90s or something. They were not traveling that far, or their houses were not that big or something. So the trend was obvious, but what was always obvious for a decade is that there were less and less people of the highest authority. And when I say authority, I mean moral authority, who were able to speak to the whole nation. And this is something that we keep dearly, because be it the religious leaders or military leaders or just, I don't know, poets, historians, actors, someone who can speak to each and every heart and make sense that, guys, this is existential. So please separate politics from actually surviving, from actually protecting this country, foundational rights and freedoms. So there are less and less people who can speak to all parts of the society. And through the social media, what it done is that we are no longer in the same news surrounding. Everyone reads its own news, its own, interpretations of it. And we all have our bubbles where we feel comfortable and right. And we do not even know what happens in the next bubble, which only, makes us divided and not able to unite over some simple things and changes which are dearly needed. So my good advice would be, keep communicating to people who you do not feel comfortable communicating. Because sooner or later you will meet together in a very cold, usually in Ukraine, revolutions are start in November. I don't know why. I mean, we have beautiful summer. We have all 4 seasons, but as a saying, but keep communicating to those people you do not agree in all of it. So probably you can overcome these differences that some politicians, explore to get your votes, but they do not make you a good favor, because the more united you stay, the more listening to common sense, the better is. The better are your chances to actually do something for your life rather than being played around. Because last thing we want is this don't look up movie in real life. This is something that can happen but shouldn't happen.
Last minute shopping during the holidays is the worst. You're running out of ideas, the stores are packed, and forget about finding parking. Aura Frames is the best last minute solution, a gift that actually feels thoughtful and personal. I'm one of those people who struggles with ideas for what to get my wife and family. I want something meaningful, something that doesn't feel rushed, and honestly, that pressure usually makes me procrastinate. Aura Frames, in my opinion, is the single best gift for that. Here's why. Aura Frames lets you share photos or videos from any device, and they instantly appear on the frame, wherever it is in the world, at your home, your office, or someone's home across the country or across the world. The frames are gorgeous. They display photos in true color, and they automatically adjust to the light in the room. When you turn out the lights at night, the frame turns off too, saving energy and letting you sleep. And the setup, about 2 minutes. Download the Aura app, connect to Wi-Fi, and you're done. Preload your photos before it ships. Add a message before your gift arrives. Keep adding new photos and videos anytime from anywhere. Every frame comes in a premium gift box with no price tag, truly ready to wrap and give. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code KEN at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code KEN. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Hey everyone, it's Ken. Quick break for a shameless pitch for my Substack and Patreon pages. To all of you who have subscribed, thank you. Your support is what makes this show possible. Anytime you see in-person reporting, whether it's trips to Ukraine to show you what is really happening on the ground, or my recent conversations with Congressman Jason Crow and Senator Tammy Duckworth, where we got on-the-record commitments to back hearings into ICE's abuses of power,
people need to know that we're taking names.
all of this only happens with your support. Every dollar that comes in through Substack and Patreon goes back into this show. And with the holidays coming up, you can give gift subscriptions as well. The links are below. Thanks for everything. Your support means the world to me. Back to the show. I like to end on positive notes when we can. These are dark times, literally, in Ukraine without power right now. But
true.
Can you imagine if we are able to, as you just tweeted, make Russia small again, if our House of Representatives slips in 2026, and if we defeat Trumpism and MAGA in 2028, what do you imagine is possible between the U.S. and Ukraine, and maybe even a revitalized NATO in, say, 10 years? What hope do you hold for a future that far out?
Can you imagine the time when we wouldn't have to spend that huge amount of money on defense and military, and we can invest in education, in science, in exploring the world, in getting as far as we can in this universe? I mean, when I became a member of the parliament, I was a young person, and I just took the numbers, and back then in 2008, what the planet Earth spent on the military budget for one day, the same amount they spent for education for the whole year. So this kind of an imbalance is something that stops us from actually, observing and doing great things. So sooner or later, if we start solving the problems, not just masking and make-upping them like a problem with Russia, you have to solve it rather than give it to the next generation of senators and congressmen. So if you solve problems like that, and if you unite the progressive and adequate people around some great ideas and new beginnings, we can actually do great things together. And it's not only rebuilding Ukraine, and it's not only cooperating in science and everything, in technology. It's also, developing new ways of life that would benefit to most of the population. Those are not something, illusional, or, I'm not inventing that. It's actually possible. But for that end, we actually, you have, like, in the bottom of this pyramid is the security. And if you keep ignoring the security and trying to negotiate with someone who should be put down and not negotiating, you are just making yourself and your future generations a very bad favor. So that's all our choice. And we will all, if we survive through this, we will remember what we were doing when this world started and what we've done wrong and right, in like telling it to our grandchildren if we have them, I hope. So that's what I pray for.
I love that vision for the future, Lesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth,
so much for joining us. I hope we can talk again soon. We have a lot more to cover. I want to learn more about Sky Shield. I want to learn so much about what you are advocating for over there. So I mean it. Let's talk again.
Be continued. Hugs.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.